Welcome to the Legacy Women Network, a sanctuary for the woman who's done hustling from burnout, hiding her brilliance, or trying to do it all alone. I'm Jess Kiriakou, holistic therapist, business mentor, and founder of this sacred and soulful community. This is your space to show up fully, slow down with intention, and build a business and life that actually feels good, not just looks good on paper. Expect real talk, bold moves, and heart-led strategy from soul-led women creating positive change in the world. If you're ready to rise into your legacy without burning out or doing it all alone, you're exactly where you need to be. Let's dive in. Today, I'm speaking to Kosta Michalopoulos, founder of The Men's Spirit, a platform helping men heal, grow, and reconnect with themselves and others. With over 20 years healthcare experience and his own journey through grief and resilience, Kosta now guides men through root cause therapy, coaching, and men's circles. In this episode, we explore what embodied masculinity really looks like and how it can help transform relationships and even help women thrive in business. Let's get into it. Hello, Kosta. Welcome to the podcast. It's so great to have you here today.
Hello, Jess. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.
I think it's just such a juicy episode that is so needed. So I'd love you to share a little bit about your journey, like what drew you into doing this work with men and really sort of that embodiment piece in the first place.
Yes, I think everything started when I was a teenager. And there was this feeling of unsettledness and not really knowing what's happening and trying to follow the narrative of being a man and not really aware what was happening internally. I became a father quite young as well. I was 26 when I became a father with our first daughter. And it seems like looking back at it now that it was always constantly trying to catch up being a father, trying to catch up being a provider, being okay with myself, being okay as a partner, and I was failing. I was really failing. And I've been working in healthcare for the last 25 years and sort of seeing as well other men how they were struggling with their emotions and their well-being. And something was brewing underneath, and I had no idea. So I lost my way, I became addicted to substances, and I wasn't present as a partner. My marriage fell apart. I wasn't present as a father and became suicidal as well. And then something slowly happened. It wasn't a moment, like where
Big spiritual awakening, like the major breakdown. What are they? Sorry, not. I should call it maybe more like a dark night of the soul, right?
There was no such thing like the enlightenment moment, the light bulb moment going off. It was just slow little steps. So for me, looking back, probably about 6 years ago, just like not looking after myself, not like looking after my body, going through, obviously, the mental health stuff. And then I realized, oh my God, what am I doing with my body? What am I doing with myself? Quit smoking. So back then I was smoking about 30 cigarettes a day and I managed to quit smoking cold turkey and started walking. I started very gentle meditation. I started connecting with my friends, with my community, with music, became a bit more expressive. And step by step, things started coming together. And then one thing led to another. And I realized that I need to find a way how to give back besides my profession. So back then I was working as a nurse. So I was always giving, but it felt like something was not right. And I realized that I need to find a way how to actually give back to my brothers, how to give back to men and see what comes up for me, firstly, while I was going through my journey and see how I can actually help my brothers. So I didn't have the answers. I didn't have everything worked out and still have no idea what's happening. But now I'm in a place where I can see the light. I can see that the love that I have inside of me it has always been there. I just didn't know how to access it before. Well, now I have been able to see and look inwards and see that there's so much beauty. There's so much beauty, not just, as a person, but all around me. As a father, as a man, redefining that masculine role as well, so there's been a really beautiful journey of exploration.
Oh, that's gorgeous. And what you described there, like to me, that is what true freedom is. It's not having to outsource your happiness and your joy and that constant seeking, right? And that's why we start forming addictions and stuff like that, because we're seeking that high outside of ourselves that really the truth is we have it all within us. You know, we can tap into that joy and creativity and just happiness anytime, you know, that is true freedom. I can literally go outside in my backyard and just sit on the grass barefoot and just stare at the trees and find joy. Like, to me, that is freedom, right?
Absolutely. And we have been conditioned, to seek materials. And we know that's not filling our cup anymore. Like
Because
we
it's
need
never enough. It's just that need it, right?
exactly. It's this chase of dopamine, this constant chase of dopamine, whether it's gonna be around the house, the new car, like for us men, like the sports, the golf, like all this materialistic stuff, which is completely empty.
Yeah, you must have witnessed so much through your nursing career, just witnessing people, witnessing the dynamics and the relationships.
Yes, mental health amongst men and the foundation of how us men function around our well-being and health is it's very, very low, unfortunately. And I saw it as as a mental health nurse, I saw it as a community nurse, and I'm seeing it now doing the men's work. Yeah, and unfortunately, something needs to change. We need to start changing that narrative without taking away anything from the feminine. That's the other thing as well. Like we need to find that balance between the feminine and the masculine. So it's a work in progress.
Yeah. Oh, it's just such important work you're doing.
Thank you.
I'd love you to tell us, like, when we talk about embodied masculinity, like, what does that mean on a practical everyday level? So, I guess, how would you describe, like, embodied masculinity to maybe someone who has never really done much of this work?
I was actually thinking the other day, what is a masculine man? What is when an embodied masculine man? If we break it down something simple, it's awareness. It's awareness of our emotions. It's awareness of our needs, our values, what we need in life. Pretty much that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And then if you put it in the context of societal expectations, of cultural beliefs, religious beliefs, it becomes really complex. But if you take away all the external stuff, what's sitting under the layers, that's
Yes.
that's the embodied masculine.
100% right, because so many men, and that's the thing, not just men. I was actually discussing this with my hairdresser this morning, how so many of us are reacting rather than responding, and we're reacting from our wounds, from a wounded place. And so that's what's happening in these relationship dynamics. And until you, I guess what you could almost say, like, wake up, and until you have the awareness, you can't make a change, right? So step one is the awareness, as you said.
Absolutely. And especially in relationships when we keep seeking, the change to come externally, to come from the other person, and we're stuck in that victimhood state where we don't take responsibility of our actions. And I'm not saying, to accept things because, you can't be in that state. It's about realizing that we attract what we are, who we are, our energies, our wisdom, our love. It will project and it will attract exactly where we are in that moment of our life. So being able to understand, where you are emotionally, physically, what you need in life, your values, your needs, your identity, and it will create that ground for a relationship to flourish.
Exactly. So an example for me is I grew up having very low self-worth, and I didn't even really realize at the time because, as I said, I was very much asleep. And so I attracted who I was, and I attracted quite a emotionally abusive partner. And I like to say that he really showed me, he proved to me that I wasn't worthy. He provided me that proof, and he was really a reflection of my inner beliefs.
Yep, I've been there as well. And seeking the validation, from my partner so they can make me feel better about myself. Where at the end of the day, the thing that was missing, it wasn't the love from my partner, it was the love for myself. That's what was missing
With
all the way.
love.
Exactly.
That's it. Yeah. And we often attract those people who are just unable to give us what we actually need because we're usually recreating dynamics from childhood. Let's just say your dad was emotionally unavailable, and here we go. another man who's emotionally unavailable, right? And it's almost like our inner child is seeking to recreate that experience in the hope that we can fix them and that they will change and we will be able to heal through that experience. But the reality is that most of the time they don't change, right? And
Totally.
so eventually, like myself, you have to get to the point where you're in so much pain that it forces you to leave and to really wake up. So that's what happened to me. I got sick. I developed chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia. And that was kind of my wake up call to finally leave. And I started my healing journey and self discovery journey from there. I feel like it was really the first time in my life where I actually said, who am I? Because I never really knew who I was. As we discussed, I was always chasing outside of myself.
I so relate with that because we identify with our partners and we have no idea, like we've lost our way who we actually are and that validation. And for me, it was the attachment. It felt like, this need for to be close to them. Yeah, and I just needed to take a step back and actually be close to myself. That's all it was. That's all it was.
Yeah, exactly. So I'd love you to share, like, what do you think are some of like the key shifts that you notice in a man, like when he begins to embody this work?
Well, where do we start? Communication. I think that's the first and probably the most important aspect. Communication with ourselves and communication, with family, loved ones. Being able to, instead of react, just embrace.
Yeah.
Yep. Embracing the situation, like whatever is happening in our life as an opportunity for growth, an opportunity for discovery, and being able, if you have truly that power, because it is a strength, being able, to be aware of, your emotions, your triggers, your challenges. It's a truly liberating because you see anything that comes your way as the greatest teacher.
As an
Really,
opportunity,
it's an opportunity. Exactly.
yeah. And it's about being that witness, right?
Exactly. And that will come through the communication. How do you
Mm,
actually talk about yourself? Like if you have this negative talk about yourself, I'm stupid, I failed again, and how I'm gonna do this, or, communication within your relationship where it's always angry, resentful, nothing's gonna change. Nothing's gonna change.
mm.
Taking that step back and learning the awareness and take control in the sense like I'm aware of my emotions, I'm aware of my needs, I'm aware that love, just being love, changes everything.
Yeah, and that's why I feel like the self-responsibility piece is just it's integral. It's like the foundation, right? Rather than constantly blaming outside of yourself and pointing the finger, oh, you triggered me. You've made me feel like this. It's about looking within. Okay, let's get curious. Let's be the witness right now. I wonder why I had such a strong reaction to what you just did, you know? And as you said, sometimes people can almost go the other way and like take responsibility when they shouldn't be taking responsibility, which I think you sort of started to get at before. And we don't want to do that, but it's about, I guess, really owning our stuff.
Yes, and it is a process of discovery because like you're gonna set your boundaries. While you go through this process, you're not gonna be completely open, and vulnerable and accept everything. You'll understand, what are your needs? Who are you as a person? So you be able to set your boundaries and how much there is this in the relationship.
Yeah, it's actually funny that you mentioned boundaries because, as I said, because I didn't know who I was and I had absolutely zero self awareness, I had no boundaries because I don't even know who I am and what I want. And so that was actually part of the problem for me personally. And it's something I see a lot as well.
I can relate, and that's something that I'm still working on myself. The people pleasing.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a journey. Like we're not perfect humans, and as you know, healing it's really like a lifelong journey of kind of peeling those layers back, isn't it? And I feel like for me, I've come a long way with boundaries and the people pleasing in my romantic relationship, but where I see myself still doing it is a bit with my sons, and so that's been a challenge. Like feeling safe to implement those boundaries and realizing like I can't always be their friend.
Parenting as well is my weak spot as well with my girls. So I've got 2 girls, they're a bit older now, but still, like sometimes I feel like they're just working all over me. But I do enjoy that in the sense, like not so much I'm compromising my boundaries, but it's part of the parenthood, like that unconditional love. But I'm learning, over the last few years, okay, we need to set some boundaries here. We need to have some conversations. Yeah, I'm getting better at that.
Yeah, because what I've found for me is usually when I do it is when I just can't be bothered and I want to avoid the stress and the conflict that could be potentially happening if I set that boundary. It's like, oh, no, you can only have half an hour of Minecraft or something. And like I can't be bothered dealing with it.
Yeah,
But the hilarious thing is, if I don't hold that boundary and implement that boundary, my life becomes harder because every time they keep pushing me for more, I'm feeling more stressed and then I'm more likely to snap and be that angry mum. And I don't want that. So it's like you need to be able to hold that little bit of temporary discomfort for that long-term gain. And I
exactly.
think it's the same in, the romantic relationships as well, right?
It pretty much is everything in life like this, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's, going to the gym, having the difficult conversations with your partner because the more you leave things, sort of putting it under the carpet, it's gonna surface one way or the other. Sooner or later it's gonna surface
That's
and
it. Yeah, exactly.
it's gonna be on your face.
Yep. And that's something I've seen heaps in my own clients and even with myself, especially in the past, is like when you don't speak up, it's that resentment and the anger and it all builds like a pressure cooker and it's got to come out eventually. So usually it comes out as that explosion and then they're like blindsided, like, whoa, where did that come from? And they've just got no idea. So it really comes back to, as you said, the communication piece, right?
Yes, exactly.
When things are starting to frustrate you on that lower level. We
hmm
don't need to get to that explosion.
Because things can be fixed from that place as well. When there is, that little argument, be able to sit down and have that effective communication where you're actively listening and applying emotional intelligence, like you know exactly where you stand, you know exactly what you need to do. So maybe, don't get it right the first time, maybe the second time, but the third time, but eventually you do get it.
Yeah.
If you hide it, the resentment is going to kick in. And just to add to what you were saying before, it's not just, the explosion or the implosion, it's the physical health as well that has impact. We know that stress, anxiety, depression, poor communication, conflict, it has an impact on our bodies.
Oh, 100%. It manifests in so many different ways.
Yes,
That emotional suppression and not using your voice. Gosh, gut issues, physical pain in the
yes,
body, migraines. The
exactly,
list is
exactly,
endless. Besides
exactly.
the potential, anger outbursts. Absolutely.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, the emotions do take a toll on our body for sure. Is there any other sort of key shifts that you'd notice in a man when he begins to do this work besides the communication?
It's that internal dialogue, which basically whether it's going to be, shifting around communication, professional, looking after the body, it's basically that internal dialogue. When we have a conversation, with our men in the community, it's basically that little person or angel or devil or whatever you want to call it that sits, on our shoulders and just keeps yapping. That ego which is trying to protect us, from change. And that will sort of appear in the conversations, like when you're trying to look after your body. And it will be like, oh, come on, one more beer. Like, it's fine. Monday, you cannot go on a diet again. It will be, don't go for that job because, like, if you're going to take the risk and how you're going to be able to pay the mortgage, it's, oh, look what she's doing, in regards to your partner and creating that resentment. It's that internal dialogue and be able to listen to that voice and understand where's it coming from a place of as an observer and understand, like that little voice, the only thing that it's doing is trying to keep you where it's comfortable because you have conditioned yourself for years, sometimes even decades of being in that space of pain, silence, discomfort, lack of self-worth and self-love. And that's what it keeps doing. So when you start having a conversation with that little inner dude, things change. Definitely things change.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because I feel like that kind of inner dialogue would absolutely come up when men are considering potentially doing this kind of work. It'd be something like, "Oh, you don't have time for that. Or what are your friends and family going to think? The shame may be coming up and wanting to, keep it a secret, because they might see that as a flaw.
Yep. And let's be honest, the foundation of our men's intelligence, emotional intelligence, is very low. It's very low for the majority of men. And I'm not generalizing, I see it unfortunately. Conversations besides footy, beers, mortgage,
Mm,
men don't open up. And that has created such a stigma. Like we still don't talk about suicide. We still don't talk about mental health. We still don't talk about addictions. And when men trying to open up, if they don't have the right men around them, it becomes so much harder.
100%. Like, I remember a little while ago seeing an Instagram account where the guy was really focusing on, I guess, the opposite to an embodied man. And I remember the reel was about how if they started to show some vulnerability, the mates would be like, oh, here, have another line of Coke, you
Yep,
know?
yep, yep. And that's, the Andrew Tate's approach, like where it's just the resilience. It means, like just suck it up and just keep doing, keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing. And yeah, maybe if we're living in a cave and it's about survival, but we're not anymore. Like we live in potentially the best lives with technology and life expectancy and the progress, but we're still stuck in that narrative where the man is still, the provider needs to fight, for food. Like, no.
Yeah, and I feel like our just media in general is a huge problem with that. I've been watching this series on the free to air TV, and I've been shocked because I haven't watched anything on free to air TV for a long time. And just constantly the gambling ads and all that kind of bro mentality, and the have some beers, and it's unbelievable.
Yep.
Like, it's just in men's face
Yeah.
constantly.
Yep. How can you actually, like it's not just the inner work. You're actually going against a whole system.
Yep, that's it.
It's not easy. Yep. And if you don't have, the support from your partner, if you don't have the support from your family, if you don't have your mates, like how are you supposed to do this?
Exactly. And that's another thing that comes up. Like, if a man chooses to do this work, sometimes the reality is that they need to do a bit of a reflection on, as you said, who they're surrounding themselves with. And sometimes that means distancing themselves from certain environments that are just not conducive to who they want to be.
Exactly. Completely agree.
So I suppose that really sort of covered how does the embodiment impact the way he communicates in the relationship. But how would you say doing this work really changes like how he holds space for the woman in the relationship to really, I guess, soften into that feminine?
I had a conversation with my partner the other day, and we're just saying about safety. Safety within a relationship creates a flourishing environment, like it's just so important so you can actually explore what's happening within yourself. And so the embodied man, the masculine man will create almost, it's like holding space for his partner so she can feel that she belongs, so she can feel that it's okay. Whatever is happening, it's okay. We're gonna work it out. That there's no, it's my issue, it's our issue. And it's this balancing game. It's almost like a yin yang of love and fear and balancing that so we can both explore what's happening.
Yeah, and sometimes it's about actually having to do that in the moment and coming back to that awareness piece.
Mm-hmm.
The man may be witnessing their woman breaking down and just crying, right? And automatically the man may go into that reactive state and think, oh, why is she doing that or whatever. And it's about witnessing that and having that awareness and then choosing differently, right? And choosing to lean in and be like, I've got you.
Yes, exactly. And that's the right attitude. I've got you. Because naturally, we will feel threatened when we see something is happening and the victimhood kicks in again. Oh, why is she doing this? Oh, maybe it has to do with me, or maybe she wants to leave me, or whatever is happening, the negative talk starts. But being able, to step out, and it's that moment where, the reaction becomes love. And being able to, instead of saying something that is not going to be beneficial for either of them, and being able to show love, actively show love, it changes everything.
100%. And as women, we are emotional beings and men tend to be more logical, right? And so what I see is quite often men want to kind of fix things or try and fix things by talking it through, but we don't actually need any talking. Like, we just need to be held. Like, we don't actually need any words right now. We just need that containment. That's really the word.
Yes, exactly. It's almost like validation of the feelings, validation of the situation, validation that it's okay. that is okay. It's not about, sitting down and coming up with a plan and fixing, because as men, yeah, like you said, like we want to fix things and we want to feel needed as well. So this is a primal need for us men as well. So being able to understand this and put it aside for that 1 minute, 5 minutes, one day, whatever it is, because eventually you will need to fix something, you know what I mean? But right there and there, it's time to actually actively listen, be fully present and hold space,
Yeah.
hold your partner.
And it's exactly the same with our kids. So many parents, because they find it hard to be with that discomfort that they're witnessing and feeling because of it, they want to fix it, right? But the child doesn't need to be fixed, and they certainly don't want to be talked to in that moment. They just want to be held.
Yes,
And
exactly.
it's really the same with us women. And yes, after that space is held, just to be heard and witnessed and, as you said, validated, then later, once the dysregulation's passed and we're both feeling okay, then you can discuss what happened there. And I wonder what that meant. What do you think you need, or, whatever?
It's that the coexistence of heart and mind, because we know that by themselves they can exist. We need that balance. So when the time is right, you will go back into the mind and the logical approach, trying to work things out. But that moment is all about the heart. It's all about the emotions.
Yeah, I guess sort of on that topic, I often see, not just women in business, like just all women carrying so much on their shoulders, right? Whether you're a woman in business, you're a stay-at-home mum, you're working a 9 to 5, we're all holding so much on our shoulders, especially in our current society with all the pressures. So how do you think the embodied man creates, I guess, the environment for a woman to thrive in her purpose or her work?
It's coming back to emotional intelligence, understanding the situation. So having that effective communication. What is it that we want in a relationship? What is it that we want as an individual? Because we can't forget, especially, like in long-term relationships and parenting as well, we tend to forget ourselves, unfortunately, which is absolutely normal. But being able sort of to look inwards and look and understand, what are our needs and express this and with our partners, we will create again back on the safety. That safety is fundamental, for a successful relationship. And with emotional intelligence, like being able to express, like I was saying before, sit down, like and come up. So we have, like, for instance, situation, where the father needs to stay home and be a full-time parent. How do we navigate this? How does the man as well need to be able to express their emotions, where he's battling his own fears, like I'm supposed to be the breadwinner. How do I actually navigate this? The emotions, of not being adequate, then supporting his partner as well, like to have that professional career. These conversations are not easy, but with emotional intelligence, being able to navigate this, and with love, everything is doable. Everything is doable. It's that sense of safety.
Yeah, exactly. Like whether we're a woman in business and we're juggling a million balls, or we're a stay-at-home mum, and who knows, maybe a mum and working 9 to 5, we've got a lot of mental load that we're holding, and we really need that space, as you said, to feel safe, to just, I guess what I use the word is like unravel. And we really need that man to be able to hold us as that safe container for us to just be able to express what's going on for us. And whether that's, we need to verbally express, we need to cry, whatever it is, like if we don't have that space, which unfortunately so many women don't, eventually we learn like we're not going to get our need met, and we just keep it all bottled in. And same as men do as well, right?
Yeah.
And it becomes toxic in the body.
Yes, exactly. Toxic in the body, toxic in the relationship, the resentment builds, and then eventually there's no turning back, really.
And so, that's only going to be detrimental to how we show up, whether that's as a mum, whether that's in our 9 to 5 career, or whether that's in our business. The reality is it's absolutely going to affect how we show up, and how we serve.
Exactly. So the power of authenticity and being vulnerable with your needs and communicating that with your partner, it's so important.
Absolutely. So I'd love you to share for the men listening, and also I think the women will be able to take away from this, like what's one practical thing that they could start doing today to, I guess, begin this work?
Depends the level of comfort, whether it's going to be meditation. There is profound power and strength and wisdom in the silence, in the stillness. If a man is able to sit with their own thoughts, whether they're meditating or just sitting there, there is so much happening there. A lot of things will surface. If that's something that's very confronting, just starting with podcast, just starting with a book, just having a chat with a mate, specifically with another man, and change a little bit the conversation, the tone of the conversation and the depth of the conversation, and see how things resonate with that. Instead of saying, yeah, how are you? Just, what's been happening in life? Like opening up the dialogue instead of, discussing, the footy results over the weekend, just saying, like how they were struggling financially or, emotionally
Yes, I love
or,
that so much.
or, they wanted to cry and they didn't know how to cry. Like something that is out of the comfort zone, something out of the ordinary. And see, obviously the response, but
It's
see,
like testing the waters, right?
yes, but for themselves as well, but externally as well. So, and building it's very important. Like, and I think you can agree as well. Like, while we're doing this healing work or whatever you want to call it, this work, we need to have some tools.
Mm,
Otherwise, it feels like we're just doing this in the water. Whether it's gonna be our loved ones, whether it's gonna be a book, a coach, a counselor, whatever it is, we need to have some tools. So when things go pear-shaped, because they will, because we know that this journey is up and down, you need to be able to have the people and the tools and the things that will actually hold you grounded.
so true, because that comes back to that, I guess, whole foundational awareness piece. And the awareness piece is so important. And that's where most people start. Like they might start, reading a book or listening to a podcast, and it really opens their mind up and they're like, whoa, okay, this whole world that I didn't know about, and starting to raise their emotional intelligence. Now, that's just one piece of the
Mm,
puzzle. They can
mm.
have all that awareness and still go back into the kitchen and have an argument or something with their partner and just automatically be sent into those, reactive patterns. And they're like, okay, cool. Well, I see it. But now what? What do I actually do? And that's often where a coach or a therapist, comes in.
Yeah, and asking that question, like, and it's not a matter, like whether you're gonna have the argument, whether you're gonna respond, and we feel like we're failing, but it's not about the failure. It's about, understanding, like, oh, okay, we've done this. Why did we do it? Asking the question, having that curiosity, reaching out, doing the work, and then it eventually becomes easier. And it's funny, like with the men that I work and trying to explain, all these men, what it means is like going to the gym and you're not going to lift, 200 kilos straight away. You're going to start, from 500 grams, just a few reps of that, and you build. It's exactly the same thing. Emotional intelligence, yeah, it doesn't happen overnight. That awareness doesn't happen overnight. Loving ourselves doesn't happen overnight,
No,
unfortunately.
100%. And that's the other thing, like it all comes back to safety and just doing things gradually widening your capacity. Or say, for example, as you said, to be vulnerable, just gradually deciding and consciously making that choice. Each time I have this conversation with this mate that I feel safer with, I'm going to just maybe get a little bit more vulnerable, or maybe just each week get a little bit more vulnerable with my wife and let her in what's going on for me,
Yes. And the
Yeah.
benefits as a partner and as a parent to our loved ones, oh my God, the difference. And they will feel it straight away. Like I remember when I started doing, especially with meditation and how much more grounded I was, like my kids straight away, they will say, what's happening? Like you seem different. And
Wow.
now they're saying, like we love seeing you the way that you are now. Like you
Oh,
are,
so beautiful.
it just gives the validation that I need, that I'm on the right path. And like we were saying
Mm,
before, it's an ongoing journey. But it gives you something, to keep working, something else, to fix and change. Or it's just, yeah, it's
yeah.
that journey of discovery.
Yeah, and I suppose also on the same thing with building that capacity when it comes to the tools, and say, for example, pausing and being completely present. When you've never been present with your body in your whole life, that can be terrifying. And so I know for me, when I was first told to meditate, that sent my anxiety through the roof because I was not comfortable being in my body without distractions, right?
Yes.
And so if our coping mechanism has been go chuck the TV on and binge TV, or go scroll and numb out on our phone for an hour, or go have 10 beers, then it's gonna take time, and just know that you need to do that gradually, you know? So
Exactly.
you're not overwhelming the system. And then
Exactly.
losing trust in yourself as well.
Exactly. I remember when I first started meditating, I was like, okay, where's the beer? Like, where's my phone? Like, what's happening? Like, it was like this constant noise in my head and just so overwhelming. You know, I gave up. Like, and then, but then I
Yeah.
went back on it again, and it
Yeah.
became easier, obviously. But yeah, it's not easy. It's so confronting because we have been conditioned to do things in a different way. And it's not serving us anymore. And that's the thing. It's that moment's like a matrix moment, a blue red pill. Like we can't go backwards. Like that's it. There's only one way now.
Yeah. And I feel like, as you mentioned with the communication piece, and maybe experimenting with being a little bit more vulnerable and opening up just a little bit more, like just what's sort of maybe just slightly stretched outside your comfort zone, and just keep pushing those edges very gradually, right? With the meditation and pausing and being with your body, I feel like my best advice would be to actually start doing that guided with a practitioner, because if you do it by yourself, you can lose confidence very quickly, right? You said yourself,
Yes,
yeah?
absolutely. Absolutely. There's so much we're blessed, and especially here in Melbourne, there's so many events, things happening, whether it's online, whether it's face to face, and even breathwork. That's another modality that will actually change my life personally. Being able, to sit with my breath and the things that surface.
Mm.
There's so many different options out there.
Yep,
It's
exactly. And there's no one perfect way to do
no,
it, right?
absolutely not. But connection, awareness, and being authentic, it's just vital.
Yeah, beautiful. So, this is a really important question. What's the way that women in relationship can, I guess, invite their man to potentially look at start doing this work without coming across as like pushy or critical or feeling like they're, kind of their mum?
I've actually got partners or mothers calling me and saying, like, oh, my son or my partner will love your services. How can we organize? And I said, the only thing that you can do is get them to give me a call. Like, you can't force anything. The only thing that I will recommend is you be the inspiration, not from a
Mm.
place of force, not from a place of, who need to change. It's when they see the change in front of them, they will want to change as well.
It's really interesting because over the 5 or so years that I've been doing this work, I've seen a lot of, obviously, I predominantly work with women, and the women are usually almost, I don't know, you tell me if I'm wrong, but maybe 90% of the time, they're the one that starts doing the work
Yes.
first. And it's exactly what you just said. They become the leader and sort of this shining light, like a lighthouse, and the man witnesses the positive changes in them. And what I also see in relationships is the choice. The man rises to meet her and does the work on himself, because otherwise the woman's going to rise and raise her standards and boundaries and all that stuff. And she's going to get damn frustrated if
Yes.
he's not doing the work to meet her.
Yes.
Yeah. So would you say that's sort of the best way, just to start doing the work yourself?
Yes, absolutely.
Rather
Absolutely.
than maybe sort of pointing out all the things he's doing wrong, kind of thing, and making
That's
him feel, criticized.
he
Yeah.
will feel he'll resent.
Yeah.
He will feel he's inadequate, that he's failing as a partner, if he's a parent. So that will definitely not help. I know from personal experience as well. You need to come from a place of inspiration. Like you can't sit there and say, like when you're eating, now you need to lose weight. Having the donuts. He needs look after yourself, and then that will resonate. The love within yourself will resonate within your loved ones, within your community. That's how change happens. Yeah, force doesn't do it.
Yeah. So would you say, like, even if a woman's, I guess, approached a conversation when, let's just say, he hasn't done any of the work,
Mhm.
she's done the work and she's very aware, and noticing now all his patterns coming up, if she, say, phrased it not pointing the finger or sounding critical and sort of just focusing on, say, how that behavior makes her feel, would you say that's okay? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Well, as soon as you start doing the inner work, the needs and your identity comes through. So whether it's going to be, feeling loved or, maybe a career, if we're talking about something tangible, like you want to explore a different career, you need to have these conversations with your partner. Okay. If your partner is not doing their part of, this relationship, it will come through one way, the other will come through. You need to have this conversation, and it will either make or break the relationship, unfortunately. And that's where things become really hard, because do you stay in a relationship where it's how much compromising are you doing? That's where the boundaries come through, your needs, how you communicate, how you move forward, do you put time frames, how do you actually navigate all this? You need both parties to participate in this.
Yeah, for sure. So would you say it's ever okay to say, this is what I need from you, I need you to sort of meet me by doing the work? Is there a way that you'd say you could say that?
The need, saying the word need creates a lot of pressure. Like if I say, like, I need this from you, or if I say, I will love you if you did this.
Yes,
Can you
exactly.
see,
That's
can you see the
phrasing
difference?
I'm
Yeah,
looking
can
for.
you see the
Yeah.
difference? Things like this, again, have a different emotional weight, and the words that we use, again, can create conflict or create a place of love. In saying that, it's not about compromising on it. It's being able to communicate in an effective way from a place of love. And what I usually do is I will speak the same way I want to be spoken to. If that sounds okay with me, I will try and do the same thing. That's like a very
Yeah.
simple rule that I practice in life.
I feel like a phrase that could be said is, because it's focusing on more of the collective outcome, you could say something like, I think it'd be incredible for our relationship if you were open to potentially exploring doing some of this work as well. So it's almost like focusing on the collective outcome, and it sounds like more of like an invitation.
Yep. And it can be even more subtle. It could be, sort of, you're reading a book, something that you think potentially, they might just leave it on the coffee table, like watching a doco, about something again that you think, you watch it, and then maybe they will watch. And then
Yeah.
these little triggers, creating an environment, because you're doing the work, that will actually invite your partner into your world. Okay. Because again, like I'm going to highlight this, by force, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Because naturally, as human beings, as soon as we've been told something, that's when we become defensive and we react.
I love that. So, if people want to learn more about you or sort of dive deeper into this work or your community, what's the best place for them to connect?
The Men Spirit, we're on all social platforms. So we hold space for men online and face-to-face. Online is monthly, and monthly as well face-to-face in Mount Waverly. And also work one-on-one with men, offering root cause therapy and coaching. And then we're doing different events like walk-ins in the Dandenongs, just sort of, to connect with nature and with men. We're doing workshops. So there's a few different things, but you can find all at menspirit.com.
Yes, and you've got a fantastic newsletter as well. So that usually has all
Thank
that
you.
kind of stuff as well to
Yes.
keep up with. Yeah.
Yes,
So
exactly.
actually that's a perfect example, I suppose, of where a man could start. Even if it was just to sign up to your newsletter, I think that would be a beautiful start.
Yeah, something very gentle and not too confronting, no commitments.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom so openly with us today. I think so many women are going to gain a lot of perspective on what's possible for their relationships and even their business or career or mothering when men in their lives really step into this embodiment.
Thank you, Jess. It's been an honor.
If this episode lit up something in you, I'd love it if you'd hit subscribe, share it with a sister, or leave a quick review. It helps more women find this space and rise alongside us. You can connect with me over on Instagram at @byjessicak, or learn more about the Legacy Women Network membership through the link in the show notes. See you next time.